Welcome to CAD. If you are new, first-time CAD person, welcome. We're glad you're here. This is only like my third or fourth time ever in CAD. It's kind of new to me still. You're looking at me like, who the heck are you? And where's Dan? Like, this is not right. My name is Joe. I have been working with students in this valley for 8 years, and I was a youth pastor at a small church in town. Then I worked at a place called the Murphy Outback for 4 years, which is by Lincoln Savage in News Valley. And now I'm on staff here with River Valley, and my main objective and hope with my new role here at River Valley is to help in the Rogue River campus. How many of you know that River Valley has a Rogue River campus that is just opening the building this Sunday? What? Not so awesome. Austin's not even here to like relish in it, but so yeah, I will be out at the Rogue River Junior High School out there. So if you go there, you'll see me there. If you have friends who go there, tell them to come say hi to the weird guy named Joe. But tonight, my hope and prayer for us is that we will continue in our series called Godspace. Who, real quick, briefly, can tell me what last week's Godspace message from our good friend Eric, what was it about? Does anyone remember? What was last week's Godspace series message about? Hint, look at the screen. First one on the left. Maddie.
Sharing the Word of God.
Sharing the Word of God. Awesome. What specifically was the topic? Pop quiz.
Coffee.
Coffee. Oh yeah, Starbucks. Yeah. And those guys went with all their heart. Go ahead. The heart of God, the heart of man, and how we can be all out in our heart for God, sharing His love, sharing His good news of Jesus Christ, and creating Godspace. Godspace is this idea that we will create opportunities to share natural conversations with our friends, our family who don't yet know Jesus, and how we can do that. How can we create Godspace in our lives? To share our faith, to live out our faith. I don't know about you guys, but so often I find most people don't want to talk about Christianity. They don't want to talk about Jesus. They don't want to talk about, that's just like taboo a little bit, like, oh, people who follow Jesus are weird, they're hypocrites, they're mental, and all these negative things come to mind a lot of times when we say the word Christian. This idea of Godspace, though, is about how we can live this out more authentically. How can we be more organic, maybe? How can we be more natural about this following Jesus thing and not be so weird and not be so harsh? So tonight's topic is about noticing. The I, you'll notice, on the second from the left, you guys can wake up a little bit, is on the idea of noticing. I want to share with you a story that haunts me to this day about noticing. I was approximately 9 or 10 years old, and I lived on a farm in Michigan. Have anybody been to Michigan in this room? Wow, quite a few of you. Wow, all right. It's a terrible place to go. Don't ever live there. I did not like growing up in Michigan. It was cold, lots of snow, like seriously, snow this high, and I still wouldn't close school. Like it's bitter cold. No one, anyway, sorry. Bad memories. But in Michigan, I lived on a small farm, and I had 3 younger siblings, still have 3 younger siblings, and one of them, his name is Johnny. Johnny was the bane of my existence as a child. I called him the spawn of Satan. Like, he was miserable. I did not get along with Johnny. I hope someday he visits Oregon. We get along now, but now he's a total like hillbilly redneck from Michigan. He talks like this and like John Deere tractors and all that. I'm like, he still talks like that. I'm like, Johnny, he's a man. Anyways, Johnny had his friend named Alex, and Johnny and Alex were playing out in the field. And I thought, okay, I see them. I notice with my eyes, I can see that they're playing on this field. But then something caught my eye, something shiny. And they shouldn't be playing with shiny things. Because, you've heard the story?
Yes.
Oh, okay, don't tell anybody the ending. So, Maddie and I go way back. And Johnny was about 6. His friend was also about 6. And they're playing something shiny out in the field. My, alarm goes off as an older brother. Wait, they should not be playing with shiny things in a field. They should be playing with, dirt. Or a ball, or something, or chasing a cow. I don't know, they should be playing with shiny things. And I see out in the corner that this shiny thing, as I really look, and actually I believe, I got binoculars, like little kid binoculars. I was so excited, like spying on them, I'm just starting looking at you guys, and just that's the direction they were in. And I'm like, what? That's a saw blade! And a saw blade, like a circular saw, like the teeth that come off as like a circle, it's gnarly looking, like it could kill you, right? You know what I'm talking about? So they're playing with it. Who does that? Who plays the saw blade? Anyways, so I'm like, I can't do this. So I take it upon myself as older brother. I notice that this is a dangerous thing. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the situation. So I go out there, I'm like, hey guys, look, you can't play the saw blade. Like, we can't do this. And they, 2 against 1, they're like, bet, we can play the saw blade. Watch us. And I'm like, you guys, you can't do that. I'm going to tell mom. They're like, bet, you won't tell mom. Like, they're just calling me out. I'm like, that's it. So I like get all this grand idea. I'm going to grab like some like dirt clods like in the field. And mind you, pause real quick. This field was freshly cut corn. How many of you have ever seen like a cornfield that's just been cut? Right? So you can probably imagine when you cut a cornfield, the corn still sticks up this high from the ground. So like it's little like nubs all over the ground. So I'm picking up dirt clods and even like the actual like corn cob, you can like pull them out by the root and like chuck them like grenades. It was so fun. And like I'm like bombing them like, you can't play with that! And they start attacking me. Like I'm like drawing them out, right? I'm like, come on, come on. And I'm getting them out, all of a sudden I like just book it around them. And I do like full sprint around my brother, grab the saw blade, and run back to the house. You say, Joe, why were you running? They were chasing me. Alright, I don't know. So I'm running with the saw blade. I'm like, let's go! I'm getting out of town. I'm going to bring the saw blade back to my mom. I'm like, Connor, look, they're playing with the saw blade! I'm trying to get him in trouble. And so I grab the saw blade. As I'm running, though, I get to the edge of the field. Yeah, I fall. I'm like, no! And like, I swear my life flashed before my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm going to die. Like, this is the end. This is the end. I can like, and I land, but the saw blade, praise God, was next to me, and like next to my head, and I fall down, but I'm like, oh, but my throat hurts. And I stand up, and the little corn stalk stuck in my throat. Why'd you laugh? She's laughing. And that hurts really bad. And I was like, forget the saw blade. I'm like, I'm gonna die! And I'm going to my mom, like, Mom! And she's like, you're fine. Oh my God! She's like freaked out. I thought, I was gonna die. And so, I didn't die. I'm here I am. I have like a scar. If you want to see it, it's kind of cool. It's a war story. But the whole story is not about me living or dying. The whole story is that I noticed something, and I saw it, and I took an action about it. Right? So I noticed. So when we talk about noticing in Godspace, it's about seeing people the way Jesus sees people. Seeing people the way Jesus sees people. How do we create Godspace? By noticing, by seeing things. When I say notice in this sense, I don't mean, oh, I can tell you have blonde hair. I can tell you have brown hair. I can tell you have pink hair. You shouldn't have pink hair. I can tell you have what kind of clothes you. Oh, I can see what kind of car you drive. Oh, it's not just noticing outward appearance. It's seeing people the way Jesus sees them. Seeing people the way Jesus sees them. I don't know about you, but when I think about seeing people the way Jesus sees them, I get kind of like, what does that look like? And so my friend Natalie's going to come up. You guys all know Natalie, I think. She's going to come up in a little bit. She's going to share with you what that looks like and who and what and how and why a little bit. But I want to talk about something real quick that really trips me up. Can't get it, trips me up. I almost died from tripping anyways. What really trips me up in noticing people and seeing people the way Jesus does are two things that I struggle with. I'm just being honest with you. I know you don't really know me, but I feel like I need to be honest with you. Something I just need to work on. And I find a great example of this in the Bible, in Luke chapter 10. So if you have a Bible, or if you're on airplane mode, you download the Bible like Tim suggested. Luke 10. Check it out. Follow me if you would. Matthew, Mark, Luke, New Testament. Mine's on page 540 something. This confuse you. I'd encourage you, some of you I know are like, man, I haven't seen my Bible in forever, Joey.
Luke 10 what?
Yeah, well, it's Luke 10, verse 25, where we're going to be. It's going to be on the screen as well. But I encourage you, if you are looking to get back into reading the Bible, if you're looking to get a better habit, man, where would I start? Sometimes that's intimidating. You look at this book and you're like, man, where do I start in reading the Bible? I'd encourage you to read the book of Luke. Man, start in Luke 1 and then start reading a chapter a day. It's super easy to read and super awesome. Full of great stories, and Luke does a great job expelling on how Jesus lived, what he did, how he taught. And we're going to look at one of those situations right here. So Luke chapter 10, that should be on the screen hopefully, verse 25. On one occasion, an expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. He said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus says, what is written in the law? How do you read it? So the religious guy says, well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, well, you've answered correctly. Do this, and you live. End of story. No. The religious guy's got to figure something out. He's like, wait a second. There's more to this. But he wanted to justify himself, verse 29. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? He says to love my neighbor, but who's my neighbor? The guy living next door, the guy living across the street, the guy living on this side, the guy living under the catty corner. You guys say catty corner? Kitty corner? Whatever. The guy living over there. Jesus doesn't answer his question, actually. Jesus tells him a story. So check out this story. Maybe you've heard it. Verse 30. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and when he fell into the hands of robbers, they stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him, bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and put the man on his own donkey, took him to an inn, took care of him. Well, the next day, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to that innkeeper. Said, look after him. And when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have. Which of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robber? So the religious guy goes, well, duh. The third one, the one who took pity on him, the one who helped him. Jesus says, go and do likewise. You're saying, Joe, this story is about who's my neighbor. It's about some guy trying to figure out who his neighbor was. The guy in the catty corner, the guy to the left, the guy to the... This is not about noticing, about Godspace. But there's 2 things I notice in the story that stand out to me as things I struggle with. First, the priest in the story. The guy who walks by. There's someone basically dead in the middle of the road. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was driving on the street and I see a dead body, I'm stopping the car, right? Duh, I'm noticing this is a problem. It's kind of. We got a situation on our hands here. But this priest in the story is unique that Jesus uses the priest because the priest had this very high official honor. He was like the man. Everyone loved the priest. He was so cool. Kind of like a pastor of the temple. He was just like the head honcho. Yeah, I'm the priest. Peace out. Well, I think he said priest out. Priest out. I just thought of that. That was actually really good. And he was so cool, he thought. And I see in this priest pride. And that's exactly what I struggle with. Pride. Thinking of yourself as better than someone else. Thinking of yourself as more highly than you ought, the Bible would say. I think of myself as better than other people so often. Oh, they're not. They don't go to church like I do. They don't even go to youth group, man. Oh, they don't. They cuss a lot, they smoke a lot, they drink a lot. And I, almost without saying it out loud, I internally think, oh yeah, I'm better than them. Pride will never allow you to see people the way Jesus sees people. If you are thinking of yourself as better than anybody on this earth, you will never see them the way Jesus sees them. I've learned that the hard way. So often in my life, when I come across people who I think I'm better than, I see them as a nuisance, as trouble, annoying, weird. I don't even give them a time of day. I don't even look at them. I don't even want to listen to them. Because I'm better than them. And I miss out on an opportunity to create God's space and to tell them about Jesus and to share Jesus' love with them. Because I'm not using my Jesus vision. I'm not using my spiritual vision. I'm not seeing them the way Jesus does because I'm thinking that I'm better than them. Pride. The second thing I see in this story is busyness. The second guy who passes by. Some Bibles say a Levite, some say a temple helper maybe is probably the easiest way to to talk about this, but this temple helper is a guy who, he was really out there just really trying to help the priest out, really. He was out there trying to accomplish a lot of things, make sure the temple was in order, make sure the sacrifice things were ready, and the rooms were ready, and all these, the curtains, all these things, and there's a lot to do being a temple helper, and I see doesn't say it in the story, but I'm kind of seeing here that the temple helper, as he's walking by the dead man, he's like, oh, he dead. Gotta go! And like runs and like, that's what I see. Like, oh, rats. He's probably, I can't help him. He's too far gone maybe. I don't know, but I'm late. That's what I see. He's late, he's gotta go. Busyness is another way that we will never see people the way Jesus sees people. Busyness. I don't know about you guys, but I am over busy. I'm over being busy, and I'm over busy. I feel like I'm too busy. I have 3 little kids. Oh my goodness. They're awesome. But they keep me busy. I don't sit still for nothing, right? Like I sit down and I get home. Oh, sit down. Dog pile! Right? I don't even sit down, right? It's busy, even with my kids. Even at home. When you think about life, there's always things to be doing. Always things to be connected to. Oh, is someone trying to get a hold of me? Oh, someone tweeted at me. Tweeted at me? Do people do that anymore? I don't even know. Right? Oh, I got a DM. Oh, I got a message. Oh, I got to answer right now. And I'm busy, distracted. And so often I think in our culture here in America, nothing wrong with being connected, nothing wrong with getting things done and having a to-do list. But so often our busyness and our distractedness keep us from seeing people the way Jesus sees people. But what about you? What keeps you from seeing people the way Jesus sees people? What keeps you from noticing them? Not just for what they look like, not just for what they've done, not just for what they're known for, how popular or unpopular they are. What keeps you from seeing them with the love in your eyes that Jesus sees them? Maybe you've never even thought of that. Our world needs more noticers. More people noticing people for who they really are on the inside. So my friend Natalie's going to come up and she's going to share with us some ideas, some thoughts, some things to take home. And I'm going to come back up and wrap it up. And we're going to go to small groups and really discuss this topic together. I hope you guys will jump in on small groups. So Natalie, come on up. Everyone give her a big round of applause.
All right, everyone give Joe a round of applause. All right, awesome. So every morning I wake up and I get ready for the day and I drive A Street. And every morning when I drive A Street, I see a guy and he's wearing a dress and he's wearing heels and he's screaming to be noticed. He's not just screaming to be noticed, but he's screaming to be seen. And I just want to remind you guys real quickly before we get into this, that compassion, noticing people, compassion is a mess sometimes. Compassion's a mess because you're dealing with people. And people aren't a formula, they're not an ideology, they're not a math equation, they're not a statistic or an issue. People are complicated. People are really wounded and broken. And people don't always move in the ways that we want them to. They don't always progress in the ways that we see as appropriate sometimes, or the ways that we grew up. But you know what? Compassion actually lets sinners interrupt our schedules. Compassion gives people a safe place to talk about messiness in their lives. But compassion is kind of messy. It's not black and white, you guys. Compassion's kind of gray. It takes a little bit of figuring out. And you know what? That's okay. Compassion's a mess, and that's okay because I'm a mess, and you guys are all a mess too. And that's okay though, okay?
For a reason, Natalie.
Nice. Okay, so you guys, how with compassion do we let people in and notice people without condoning their sin? And it's a really huge question, but it does start with noticing people, like Joe was talking about. It starts with noticing people. So, if you're keeping notes, what are we noticing? What are we looking for? You guys all have your notes? Good? Okay. So, Jesus of Nazareth, he noticed people. He didn't see them as issues or statistics or agendas or a threat to the future of his society. He noticed people, okay? Beautiful, beautiful, yet messy people. So, Jesus noticed unfamiliar, insignificant, and awkward and excluded people. So if you're keeping notes, we look for the unfamiliar, the insignificant, and the awkward, and the excluded. So first off, Jesus noticed unfamiliar people. And you guys have heard, right, about Jesus' disciples. How many disciples did Jesus have? Okay, do more than 2 people know that question? Okay, whatever. It's okay. Hey, we're all messy. It's all good. Okay. So, yes, to the 2 people that knew that, Jesus had 12 disciples, okay? And Mark chapter 1 says that Jesus, he was walking the Sea of Galilee, and he looked up, and he saw 2 disciples, and they were fishermen. And he not only saw them, but he chose to interact with them and do life with them. And some of us might not be aware that Jesus, his disciples, were kind of different. Some of them grew up really differently than Jesus did. Some of them believed differently about government and politics and violence and authority. Some of his disciples wanted to violently overthrow the government. Some of his disciples worked for the government. Whoa, that would be kind of tense, family conversations, But Jesus still chose to do life with unfamiliar people. And you guys, if we want to reach this city, if we want to reach our schools for Jesus, we first have to see unfamiliar people. We have to ask the Lord, open up my eyes to those people that I don't even choose to see. I remember when I went to North Valley. Okay, you guys, I went to North Valley. Woo! Okay, you guys are killing me tonight. Okay, all right, so I went to North Valley. I remember when I would walk into school, I would just be straight track looking for my friends. Where are my friends? Looking for my friends. And I wouldn't talk to anyone else. You guys, we have to be willing to notice unfamiliar people that we aren't actually already looking for. So if we want to reach this city, reach our schools for Jesus, we have to blow apart the boxes of the people that we're willing to notice and do life with. Because that's what Jesus did. And I think here in Grants Pass especially, there's this fear of the other. Fear of the other. Fear of those people with those agendas that voted that way, that weren't raised like my family was raised, that use that kind of language. And that fear of the other is going to be a huge gospel barrier for people coming to know Christ if we choose to be like that. So I know I've been praying for myself that I don't have that fear of the other, of the unfamiliar in my life. So think about that. Who's the other in your life? That person, those group of people that you don't feel really comfortable interacting with. So that's the first thing. Jesus noticed the unfamiliar. Secondly, Jesus noticed the insignificant, the little things. Have you guys noticed reading? Jesus was a pro at noticing the little things. The little things. So Jesus was alert all the time. And if we want to be alert all the time, we, kind of like Joe was saying, we have to put down, can I borrow a cell phone really quick? There's a cell phone, yeah, okay. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, so let's just say I am looking down at my phone, I'm walking. You guys, if I'm looking down at my phone, think about everything I'm cutting off. I love cell phones. I love the cell phone. It's great. But let's not forget, as we're walking, looking down at our phones, everything we're missing. If you have headphones in, you guys know your headphones are perfectly designed to fit into every single space in your ear. Headphones are literally meant to tune out the world. And so if you're looking down, with headphones in your ears, you're walking down the street, something in front of you could literally blow up, and you wouldn't even notice that. So you guys, Jesus was a pro at noticing all. Thank you. Oh, shoot. Thank you. Jesus was a pro at noticing little things. And if we want to be that way too, we've got to be alert. We've got to take those things out of our lives that keep us from noticing little things. There's a story where Jesus, he was teaching in one of the synagogues, and there's a huge crowd. And as he's teaching, he looks up and he sees a woman in the back, and she's on the ground. She's on the ground. No one else noticed her, but Jesus sees her. And she's been crippled for 18 years. That's longer than most of you have been alive. She was crippled and she was laying on the ground, and Jesus stops what he's doing and looks at her and actually starts having a one-on-one conversation with her. And he right there heals her. He was the only one who noticed her. Jesus noticed insignificant. He noticed the things that other people didn't notice. Super awkward to everyone else in the room. They came to hear Jesus talk to all of them, but he's having a one-on-one conversation with her. Awkward to everyone, but so liberating to this woman. You guys, have you noticed Jesus doesn't shy away from awkward situations? I went to college and I got my degree in communications, which is like the study of like human interaction. And so awkward situations, I just cringe. Like people who don't pick up on social cues, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. But Jesus was like comfortable with that. There's a story in the Bible where like this guy climbed a tree, Zacchaeus. Who knows the story of Zacchaeus? Okay, so we got the story and the song and the dance. Yeah, okay. So you guys, Zacchaeus climbed a tree to see Jesus. If I was walking down 6th Street and I saw someone climb a tree, I would like run, take a picture, probably send it to Rach, and then I would probably run, okay? So you guys, Jesus, he embraced awkward situations. He embraced awkward people. There's another story where this woman, she's, Maddie, get up for a second. Okay, there's this woman, and okay, I'll be Jesus, of course. Okay, now, so actually, no, you can be Jesus. You're Jesus. Okay, so this woman's walking behind Jesus. Okay, you can walk like Jesus would. So okay, and she just like touches Jesus. Awkward. If someone touched me, I'd probably punch him in the face and then run away. Okay, no, but okay, good. Thank you, Maddie. Good job. Okay, yeah. So there's a story where this woman, she just touches Jesus. He doesn't know her, she doesn't know him, but she touches him, and he doesn't like shy away from her. He goes towards her, and she wants to be healed. You guys, Jesus doesn't ignore awkward situations. There's another story where Jesus is walking out of Jericho with a crowd and his disciples, and there's a man, and he's blind, and he's inside the city, and he's like yelling at Jesus. He's just yelling at Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And everyone's like, shh, like, shut up. But you know what? But Jesus, he doesn't ignore the yelling man. He goes towards the yelling man. He goes towards the awkward man. You guys, don't be surprised if people in their desperation to be noticed, to be loved, to be seen, don't be surprised if it comes off as really hostile. People are going to push you away. People are going to be angry. People are rude. You know what, like, I know I'm pretty sensitive, and so if someone's, like, kind of rude, like, someone's, like, that, like, hurts my feelings, and my family can really attest to that. Okay, don't smile at me. Okay, yeah, where was I going with that? Yeah, so now I'm starting to realize, like, people who are really rude, instead of getting hurt about it, just get curious. Like, oh, man, I wonder what happened to them this morning where they're like really rude like that. I wonder what their parents said to them this morning that maybe made them feel like only like 20% today. I wonder what's going on in their life that makes them so mean all the time. You guys, people who are rude and angry and hostile, like they're miserable a lot of times. Sometimes people will put up walls. You guys, like, Jesus' kindness is what led us to repentance, okay? And our kindness to people, you want to shock people, you want to shock the world, be kind to mean people. I know that sometimes it doesn't feel good, people pushing you away or being mean or being angry or just being out there and fiery and all that, but we're mean to God and his kindness melts our hearts. So let's do likewise. So Jesus embraced the awkward. Jesus noticed the excluded. He noticed kids, which is interesting because in that society, kids were seen as half human beings, not fully complete. Imagine that. Someone sees you as half of a human. That would be pretty awful. That'd be really, really, really rough. But Jesus, he, along with women were seen as half, and crippled, and the sick, and widows, and the poor, they were all seen as half humans. But Jesus, he, is that my phone?
Yeah. Well, yeah, my bad.
Sorry about that. Okay, so you guys, Jesus noticed kids. And there's a story where it says people brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. And Jesus said, let the little children come to me, don't hinder them, the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. So the disciples, they are getting annoyed. These kids are coming up to Jesus and they're super annoyed because they're still in their culture and they're still learning that Jesus is different than culture, and they're seeing these kids still as like half human beings, and they're like, Jesus, these kids are ruining your ministry, they're annoying to your ministry, and Jesus is like, oh no, like they are my ministry. Jesus embraced the excluded. It's interesting, there was something about Jesus' look and his posture and his manner. He was so approachable. Kids felt safe coming up to him. Not only that, but parents felt very safe, like bringing their kids to Jesus. And there's just something about Jesus that was safe. You guys, are we safe? Are we like safe people? Honestly, like, do people even feel safe with you noticing them? Are you a safe noticer? I know, like, you guys at school, there's, right now, just in our society, and there are students that you go to school with that are wrestling with really deep stuff. Gender questions, sexuality questions, all kinds of really deep stuff, identity questions. You guys, are you safe? Are you safe for someone to come up to and be like, hey, I'm wrestling, I have these questions about my gender, I have these questions about my sexuality. Like, are you a safe person for people to talk to about these things? And you guys, it's not just people out there that are wrestling with that kind of stuff. Some of you are. Some of you are. And you know what? I hope this place is really safe for you to talk about some of these questions. Your questions answered. I'm going to be honest. So, so I went, we were in CAD in 2007? So I went to CAD with Nicole and Rach and Katie. And we had a friend in CAD. I'm going to call him Josh. Okay, so we had a friend named Josh. Yeah, not him. So I had a friend named Josh, and he went through CAD with us, and Josh was struggling with some of these things that I was just talking about, and Josh didn't share it with anyone. He didn't share this with anyone, but he just kind of went through CAD, was really wrestling with some of these identity things and gender stuff and all that, and one time in our junior year, he just stopped coming to CAD. And I was kind of like, okay, like I wonder why Josh isn't at CAD anymore. And we graduated high school, and recently I talked to Josh, and he now lives down in LA, he's gay, and he has a boyfriend and all that. And so I was talking to Josh, and I was like, Josh, why did you stop going to CAD junior year? And he told me, well, one time when I was at CAD, I was wearing really tight like jeans, and I was wearing a V-neck. And just a little context for you guys, V-necks are totally normal. I see guys and girls wearing them all, right now. But back in 2007, so we got Austin over there. Yeah, Austin! Reel it in. Okay. So, but back in the day, back when we were in high school, they weren't as common for guys to wear them, okay? And so, my friend Josh, he told me, well, Nat, I wore a V-neck to CAD, and someone made fun of me. And I didn't, and I kind of ruled out CAD as a safe place. And I was like, oh my gosh, Josh, I'm so sorry. Like, who was it? Someone in your small group? Like, who was it? And he's like, no, it was one of the staff. You know what, you guys? Like, this place has got to be safe, and us as staff, we're learning this too. You guys, you have no idea what people are going through. You have no idea what your jokes sound like, what my jokes sound like. We got people in our society that are struggling with crazy stuff. And some of these hot topics in society, these stuff that we vote for and talk about, that's great. You don't got to think differently about these things, but remember, they're not just issues. We're talking about people. We're talking about hurting people. Are you safe? Are you safe? So my last point is we look for pain and needs, because Jesus noticed pain and he noticed needs. So notice, like what I was just talking about, when Jesus encountered people, sinful people, he had a way, he didn't ignore their sin. A lot of times we're like, oh, how are we supposed to interact with people if they're like really, really sinful? And like Jesus didn't ignore sin, but he did think deeper about their sin. So we're not called to think differently about sin. We're called to think deeper though. And we all know we're all sinners. What's behind deep sin? It's needs and pain and confusion. You guys, as you're interacting with people, you don't got to think differently about their sin. How can you think deeper? Ask people their stories. Remember people's names. Look at facial expressions. Notice what people are posting about. Look at what's on their t-shirt. What music are they listening to? You guys, like, we can make some really good Godspace by noticing people's pain and noticing their needs. So just think, you guys, who are awkward, or maybe people that maybe are unfamiliar to you, insignificant, hurting, excluded people at your school for you to notice and love on. You know, the boy who wears the same outfit every single day. Maybe awkward or weird to us, but Jesus totally would have noticed him. The girl who's terrible at doing her makeup. Jesus would have noticed her. The girl that talks like this close to your face. Jesus, that's awkward. Yeah, some of you do that, okay. Just kidding, in more of a way. Jesus would have totally still engaged in conversation with that girl. You guys, that boy who loves Trump so much and he drives you nuts. Jesus would totally engage with him, talk to him about it. That girl that's all for women's rights and she loves Hillary Clinton. What was that? Okay. Jesus would have totally noticed her. What about that kid on your basketball team who they think they're really good, but they're not really that good? And when they play, they're like not good, but they think they're good, so it's just one big awkward situation.
Yeah.
Was that you? Are you that kid? Oh, okay. Jesus, you guys, Jesus would have totally. Okay, bring it in. Jesus would have totally noticed him. You guys, what about that boy who dresses like a girl, and then some days he dresses like a boy, and then some days he dresses like a girl, and you're just so confused? Seriously, Jesus would have totally noticed him and loved on him, not felt awkward around him, or if he did feel awkward, he would push through it. Because that kid is hurting. What about that girl that's holding hands with a girl, and then holding hands with a guy, and then holding hands with a girl? Again, you're confused, and you're like, wow, this is weird. Like, man, that's a girl with some questions. That's a girl that's wrestling with some deep identity stuff that needs to talk to a safe person and needs to be in a safe place to talk about things like that. What about that boy who says the F word every single other statement? No one here, I'm sure. Jesus totally would have still engaged in conversation with him, okay? All right, so homework. You guys are going to wake up every morning. First, wake up. Just gotta wake up one time. Okay, you're gonna look in the mirror. You're gonna look in the mirror. You're gonna say, "Hey, handsome," or "Hey, beautiful." Okay, so you're gonna look in the mirror. You're gonna give yourself a little wink. Can you guys all wink? Can you? Yeah, you got it. Good job, girl. Yeah. Okay, you're gonna give yourself a wink. Just one, not two, just one. Okay? And you're just gonna say, "Hey, God, who would you have me notice today? Open up my eyes. Who would you have me notice today?" Okay? All right, you guys. Joe, he's gonna come back up and share one more thing. All right, let's give it up for
Joe. So as we wrap this topic up on noticing, and we wrap up this idea of how do we create Godspace? How do we notice people for not just what they look like, what they do, how they talk, how they act, but how do we see them as Jesus sees them? As I wrestled with this topic, and I sat with it, and I studied about it, and I prayed about it a lot. And I don't know about you, when I pray and I listen back for God, did you know that God speaks to you today? Did you know that? When I was sitting with this, I was praying, I said, God, man, like, what do you want us to say? Like, we get to talk about noticing, like just seeing things, and that's kind of too easy to talk about. And I felt like he asked me a question back. I feel like whenever God talks to me, and kind of in my heart, really, not really some audible voice with a boo, more like, hey Joe, that's what I feel like he asked me. Hey Joe, how come my children aren't known as noticers, but they're known as judgmental, hypocrites, people who hate other people, people who have a lot of pride and arrogance? How come they're not known as noticers? I just sat with that. I was like, wow, I don't know how to answer that. I was kind of thinking about it, and I felt like a word came to me, and it felt like he said, it's because they forgot that I noticed them first. Jeremiah, I think it on the screen, Jeremiah 1:5, God's talking to this guy Jeremiah, and he says to Jeremiah these words: before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. He goes on to challenge Jeremiah to be a leader in Israel. Guys, these words are to you as well. Before he created the foundations of this world, before he even thought about naming the stars and making the mountains in Oregon and the trees and knowing all the different things that he would create so uniquely, he thought of you. He knew you. And he's known you. When I was in high school, I wasn't going to share this, but I feel like I need to just real quick. When I was in high school, I dealt with loneliness. Big time. I didn't have a ton of friends, probably because I was homeschooled. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I tried to act cool. I tried to act like I could fit in with anybody around town. I played on some sports teams in schools and stuff, and I was pretty decent at basketball, believe it or not. And I could make the shot, I could play some good defense, blah, blah, blah. And we won some games, and I thought it was so cool, like, look at me. And I would put on this face in front of the crowds, in front of my friends, in front of the public. I'd be like, yeah, I'm always happy, I'm always good, yeah. But like every night, y'all, like I'm dead serious, every night I felt so depressed. I felt so alone. I didn't believe those words. I didn't believe that God knew me. I mean, I kind of knew in my head, but I didn't believe it. Psalms 139 is another great verse. I just want to read these verses to you. 139, 1 through 6. Oh Lord, you have searched me and you know me. This is David talking to God. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. You hem me in before him, behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. And David's like, God, you know me. You know where I'm at. You know how I feel. You know where I sit. You know where I stand. You know where I go. You know where I stay. You know everything about me, God. He says it's too wonderful for me to attain. It like blows my mind, he says. I can't believe the God of the universe would know me, David's saying. And my friend, I want you to hear those words for you. God knows you, and he loves you. And I know some of you sitting in this room, I guarantee there are many of you in this room who you feel alone. You feel maybe like no one really understands you. I definitely felt that way in my depression, in the pit of my life and through high school. I felt like no one cared, no one understood me. And I was terrible at noticing others because I didn't feel noticed myself. So I want you to know that you are noticed. Maybe you don't feel it right this moment, but I want to promise you this, and through God's word, I hope you see you are noticed. You are loved. That's why Jesus came, right? Jesus came to live this awesome life. And like Natalie's stories and the things that he noticed, yes, amazing. Wow, it's a life we should model after. But his ultimate goal was to take your sin, your junk, and your loneliness and nail it to that cross. His death was not just for fun and games. His death was for your life, for your soul, for your eternity. So you could notice others. So you could take that same love and pass it on to this world. Pass it on to the people you know. But don't forget that he noticed you first. You're not alone. You're not alone. I'm going to pray with you guys. And I hope that you'll take what we've talked about, the thoughts that Natalie had, the questions that your small group leader is going to have. I hope that you'll take these things and you guys have a great small group time. The last, I think, about 35 minutes or so. Jump in, dive into the dialogue, and please feel free to ask questions. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. Maybe tonight you're like, yeah, tonight's not a night for me to ask questions. I pray that you will never miss an opportunity to come to CAD and feel noticed and know that you are safe here. Let's pray. Father, as we end our topic tonight about noticing others to create God's space, God, I pray for my friends who don't feel noticed. They really maybe just feel alone. They feel like no one cares about them. I pray for them that they would just have an overwhelming sense of your love through their small group, God, through your word, through your Holy Spirit, God. That you would just encourage them and equip them, God, as they go. Equip my friends who are here who just need some boldness. They're not really sure what to do with some of this information. God, I pray that they would take these ideas of noticing the awkward, noticing the unfamiliar, noticing the hurting and the pain in other people, God. I pray that they would take this and they would run with it, God. They would take it to their schools and be praying the prayer that, Lord Jesus, help us to interact with others, to see people that we interact with today. Help us to see them as you see them, Jesus. Let that be our prayer as we go from this place and as we go into small groups, God. We love you. We praise you.